Mortgage distress and the JobKeeper cliff. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's look at this ABC News article about Australia's mortgage distress hotspots and the end of the JobKeeper scheme. Now in some states we've got nearly 9% of people employed, and I'm looking at you Victoria, supported by JobKeeper. And I guarantee that there's some businesses that are taking advantage of it that probably don't need to, but they would be at an unfair commercial disadvantage compared to their neighbours. So let's look at this. So, if government is giving out free money, guys, don't look badly at anyone who's taken it, because frankly, the government steals money off people. So, the financial impact of hard lockdowns on Australian households has been revealed in data provided exclusively to 730, with Victoria shown to have more outstanding mortgage deferrals than any other state or territory. Because we're looking at one take here. There's another article saying that 85% of loans are now no longer on hold, so it's improving in some regards. This year is going to be interesting, guys, to see what happens as they try to pull away the props that are supporting the economy. You've got JobKeeper. Some of those businesses are fine, others have got no chance. They're not going to survive. You've got a two-speed economy and a difference between those that are reaping the benefits of the current state of the economy and those that aren't. And it's just going to be exacerbated even more. So this will definitely be an interesting year. You've got a government, a reserve bank, everyone that just isn't worried about house prices. And yet everyone wants to get in housing. And the higher housing gets, the more people have to save for a deposit. That will decrease the amount of money that's flowing through the economy. Don't worry, Florian. People will just afterpay for everything, or they'll credit card for everything. I'm hoping perhaps naively that people will wake up and get control of their finances. But there's a question for you. Someone said in a comment, which I thought was quite good. The dangerous thing about financial literacy is if everyone had it, then the whole system would fall apart. Do you reckon? So, while 81% of overall mortgage deferrals from June last year are now back on track, with repayments being made, data from the ABA shows 82,000 Australians are still deferring their home loans. That's not that big a number. But then again, if you're living right next to a few of them and you've got forced sales, it could affect your property prices. Victoria has 31% of the original deferrals granted last June, still being deferred in December figures. By comparison, in New South Wales, which initially had the highest number of overall deferrals, only 21% of June's deferrals are still on hold, indicating a more rapid recovery in the state, which did not have a hard lockdown. Australian Banking Association CEO Anna Bligh, our former Premier, this is where they end up, said the banks had taken this factor into account when negotiating with customers in Victoria. I don't think there's any surprise that in a state like Victoria, which endured significant lockdowns, significantly longer lockdowns and therefore longer closures on their economy, that it's taking them longer to get back on their feet, Ms. Bligh told 730. It's about 10% slower, so it's not a massive difference. But yes, you can see that there is obviously an impact. The same goes for smaller business loans, which have returned to regular payments more sharply than home mortgages. Every time I read that, I'm just glad I've paid off my small business loans. We bought a car for the business. We bought a scanner for the business. They were the only loans that we got. I'm glad they're gone. I really am. I really feel for the businesses that would have just had the rug pulled under, or maybe everything was good, projects were lined up, work was going well, and then through no fault of their own, they're done. Now that's a risk that we all have to consider. Government interventions in the economy. Look what they're doing for one case in WA, guys. It's nuts. It's just crazy, the price we're paying for this. What scares me the most is that this will now become the standard response to any medical issue. There'll be calls. There'll be calls for lockdown. There'll be calls for restrictions, even if it's even less of a risk in the future, because they're going to be idiots there that will call for it. We'll see. So, back to this. Victoria still has 17% of last June's deferrals on hold, and all the other states range from 6 to 8% on hold. However, the upcoming and coinciding deadlines of the remaining loan deferrals and the conclusion of the JobKeeper scheme in its current form means some loan holders will have to make hard calls, according to Ms. Bly. There's no sugarcoating this. Come March and April, there are going to be businesses that are going to face some really tough decisions, she said. And there are going to be homeowners, tragically, making some hard calls. Now, guys, this is the reality of a recession, okay? When people leverage themselves too far, or when they've just been unlucky because they've been screwed over by the government, or, life happens, you kind of have to start again, or you lose, or you crash, or you have to sell your property, or your business fails. It's a part of life. It's not the end. You can still build up. There can still be more opportunities. It can be tough. It can be tough to get through that, through dark times, but it can be a valuable process. Maybe people learn how to control their finances better through going through some tough times. If you've got friends who are, who maybe have not learned these lessons and are going to, make sure you're at least there for them, to at least have a shoulder to cry on if it goes, hard. Feeling left behind. One such homeowner set to make the hard call is Nikki Abercrombie, one of the 82,000 Australians who are still deferring their mortgages. 730 first met her, a mother and owner of a small international events company, in July last year. The reason I deferred my mortgage payments was to make sure I was managing my cash flow, so immediately I needed to look at day-to-day budgets to help keep the business running and help us keep running as a family, she said at the time. 7 months later, her $425,000 mortgage has not received any repayments, and the broader positive economic outlook is yet to reach her and the business events industry. Yeah, she's in a tough game. She has to pivot. Can you shift business events to running maybe online? Maybe you could do it like that. I guess. I mean, $425 ain't too big a mortgage. The repayments on that wouldn't be too hard. You could lock it in at a lower rate. I've just been reflecting on the last year and all the hustle that we've had to do to get new businesses and to just understand the new world, she said. I feel a little bit left behind. I'm finding that other industries have snapped back. Some are even doing better than they were before. But in the events industry, in particular the business events industry, you have to be really dynamic. I mean, her industry may never come back. The culture may shift. And we're entering a recession too. Where are you going to find savings? Events? Why hire someone when you can do it yourself? We ran a few decent sized events ourselves. We had events where we had like over 100 people turn up for a fifth business party. It was great. Spend extra on the food. Hire a good caterer. And get security to keep make sure, people don't cause a ruckus. So business events industry slow to recover. Will it ever recover? The Business Events Council of Australia, representing an industry whose revenue slumped to virtually zero last year, welcomed a $50 million federal government grant last September. But Chair Vanessa Findlay said more support was needed. Our current position is that Australian business events industry will need support for a bit longer if we're going to return revenue to what it was pre-COVID. Ms. Bly also said the banks would assess any further deferrals based on financial viability. It'll depend on what industries people are in, what reasonable prospects they may have of getting back into work or the business, being able to get back into full turnover, she said. And banks want their customers to succeed. So if they see you're only at 50% turnover, but we can see you've increased 20%, we're confident with another 3 or 4 months that you're going to get back to 100. Well, I mean, that's the thing. The bank's going to say that in this media statement, but they're also going to be telling people, yeah, no, you're in tourism. There's no way your business is going to recover. We don't want to do business with you anymore. Don't think that doesn't happen, guys. So the deadline looms. For the remaining deferrals, the conclusion of JobKeeper in its current form will coincide with the conclusion of the loan deferral. What's going to be interesting is if we start hearing of businesses that were doing JobKeeper and then they're going to get done for probably wage theft or whatever rubbish they bring in because maybe they didn't pay super, or maybe they incurred all these other costs that they didn't have the money for and they went under. Because I bet you there's some people that have dragged on the business too long, hoping it'll come back, and it won't. It's going to suck. So, I think that we'll have some stress about just thinking of the timing. There'll be no overlap with the deferral and JobKeeper ending, she said. Joe Masters, chief economist at EY, said it was time to get off life support. We have cushioned the blow, but we can't survive on these life support type policies like JobKeeper forever, Mr. Masters says. Oh, some people want them. Some people want them. They want it to evolve in UBI. I would love to see UBI just because then we could fire all of the civil servants we wouldn't need in the welfare system. You could just write an algorithm and have 5 people managing it, and that'd be it. You don't need to make any phone calls, nothing just gets deposited to a bank account. Imagine that. Get rid of all of those people and just say, okay, can you just imagine every civil servant fired? Okay, you're fired, but you're on UBI, so it's all good. Imagine all the charities that would lose all their relevance. Oh, boy. Never happen. Never happen. It's an industry. There's people. There's political people that make it. Their entire existence is tied up in that sector. I had a good friend from high school. He was legally blind. He has a movie production company called Beer Nuts Productions, and he makes some humor clips and movies. You can find him on YouTube. And he went and gave a speech down in Canberra to a bunch of politicians for a disability advocacy group, and he just tore into the entire industry because he said they're just all these people that are just tapping each other on the back. We're not actually making any real difference or helping anyone. So he wasn't asked back to speak again. So ending JobKeeper. Back to this. Whilst that will be very difficult for many, and it's really important that we support people through the restructure, it's the right policy, partly because it's hiding those zombie firms. Yeah, she's right. She's right. There are businesses that are being propped up that can't survive. And it may be through no fault of their own. It may be nothing they could have done. That's life, guys. It's not fair. It sucks sometimes, doesn't it? At least you have some interesting stories. You want to at least try and give it a shot and fail and just live in the grey, boring, as an NPC, never even given life a shot. So, it's keeping alive all Australian businesses from the pre-COVID economy that we had. We're not seeing the economic scarring that would typically see in a recession. She believes she will not be offered any further deferrals from her bank and has sought advice about selling her home, with one agent telling her to beg, borrow or steal to keep this property. I still feel that failure I felt 12 months ago when all this happened, she said. Adding to the stress would be if I had to lose the house and adding to that failure. It's a sad case there, but, it's life. It happens. If you lose the house, it's not the end of the world. I mean, that's what people have to realize. It's not the end of the world. Life goes on. There's more important things. Maybe that's what a whole lot of us have to learn. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, support us using PayPal, use our SelfWealth referral links, where you and I both get 5 free share trades, or join MeetRx with my referral link, get a coaching session, and I'll get one too. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.